Shaw Industries. I work in the technical support installation group. I'm a manager over installation development, as well as the guys out in the field that travel and meet customers, do trainings, field startups, etc. Today, I'm leaning over into Totalworx, and if you don't know anything about Totalworx is a brand of Shaw that focuses on supplying accessories. So Totalworx provides all accessories from floor patches, adhesives, moisture mitigation, pads, trims, as well as cleaning products for post-install for that customer. Today, what I'm going to be talking about is a new adhesive that is called TTT Adhesive. Tomorrow, we've got an invention, a new product coming out tomorrow that's going to be kind of, I wouldn't say revolutionary, but it's going to be big for the installers because it can decrease their install time by 25 to 35% on floating products. So that's going to be, I think it's at 2:30 tomorrow, so definitely catch that. Talking about a TTT adhesive, my background is installation, and I'm not sure who all installed here, but I will say back in the days when I installed, when I was using, a tube urethane or say liquid nails, putting on air treads or any type of other trims, I always walked away with my hands being black, and it was black for a couple of days, right? So I had that mess on my hands. But also, like say a tube urethane adhesive, if I'm utilizing that on any type of substrate and that gets on the top and dries, it could potentially etch the top surface of that product if I'm trying to remove that. So the TTT adhesive is a universal adhesive that is utilized for trims, tack strips, as well as treads. So when we talk about treads, that's going to be our stair treads that match the flooring products that we can install up a staircase. Also flush mount nosing. So a great adhesive that can be utilized for multiple purposes. So from an installer standpoint, I only need one adhesive, right? I can take this adhesive out to a job and do multiple things. What I like personally about it from an install standpoint is that if I get any on the face of a product, I can come back the next day and use some denatured alcohol, or I can even lightly, use my fingernail to peel it off, scratch it off a little bit, and it's not going to damage that surface. So that's a huge thing. Say for example, if I've got, a hardwood where I'm putting in a transition piece into that floor, if I get it on that top surface, it's not going to damage it. So to use this adhesive, we got two different tube sizes. One's a 10.5 ounce, and I believe the other one's 29 or 30 ounce tube. So just depending on what you need it for. The big one I'd probably keep in my truck all the time, just so I can have as much as I need. So with this, we've got about, I would say, around a 45-minute working time. So what I like to do with this adhesive, say for example, we're installing our Totalworx treads up a set of steps. What I would prefer to do is, as I'm installing up that set of steps or installing down, I can utilize this adhesive. And another a key trick I like to do is I'll take my hot melt glue gun and I'll add some dabs. So for example, if I'm installing a flush mount nosing with a product behind it up a set of steps, I'll apply my TTT adhesive, put a couple of dabs of hot melt glue on that tread, and inset it. So that hot glue is going to set that tread a lot faster. So as I'm working up and down, I'm not going to get that movement where if I was using any type of troweled adhesive or tubed adhesive, that would still stay wet. So a good cool trick there from that application. So when we're applying this, especially on the back of treads or nosings, or even if we've got a floating product that's got the track underneath the trim, what I prefer to do is rough up that bottom surface of that trim or tread or whatever we're installing, and that's going to create a little bit more bite to it. So what I would prefer to do with this is, I mean, you can use like I would say 80 or 60 grit screen, or a 100 grit screen, it would work. Works really good to cut that. You want to always wipe that off. What I don't want to do is apply a tubed adhesive to the top of something I just sanded and got that debris on top. That's going to reduce my bond to that surface. So I just clean this off with a little bit of denatured alcohol and a rag. This microphone makes it tough to work one-handed, so I'm not do what? Oh, it's all you're good. I got it.
I'll point at your mouth.
Do what?
I'll point at your mouth.
So I just sanded the back surface of these products, and that's one thing is we work a lot with installers and customers, and some of the, I would say the calls that we get from accessories and trims or nosings is that, they started working on it and it might have popped loose, or it just didn't hold long enough. So providing a little bit of abrasion on the back side is going to give it a little bit more bite to it. So it's a pretty easy, just a serpentine across that back. And again, you know how we was talking about going up that set of steps? I would just add a few dabs of hot glue on the back of that. So as I'm going up, it sticks, right? One key thing right here is who works in the installation flooring business? Who's a dealer? Anybody? Nobody? Okay, so this might not even pertain to you, but one thing that we experience is this is a flush mount stair nosing. So flush mount stair nosings are meant to go flush to a product that's being installed on the floor. So that's whether it's a floating SPC or WPC product, it's going to sit flush right next to it. We've seen the demand in the industry to move away from those overlap stair noses. Just because it changes the pitch of your foot as you're walking up and down those steps. So there's regional pockets throughout the United States that has specific codes, right, where we've got to have a flush nosing. So we've transitioned to that, but kind of what we've experienced is installers are still overlapping this nosing over top of the product. So always make sure it's, if you got a flush mount stair nosing, make sure it sits flush to the product. So with a floating product, what we want to do is, if I install my nosing and say we're on a transition up to a landing or a top set of steps, I would want to glue 6 to 8 inches out of that product right next to that nosing to make sure it stays net fit to it. So as I'm installing this, it's pretty simple. I just want to make sure it goes on, and a good thing too is that as you're going, you can always use a small hand roller to roll it to disperse that adhesive and get sufficient transfer of bond as well. So again, you can kind of see how it disperses across. Any questions with this? It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Again, TTT adhesive from Totalworx, trims, tack strips, and treads. So it's a kind of a universal adhesive that you could just use whatever you need it for, essentially. You kind of keep some of those adhesives that collect on your hands and make a mess in that home that you have to do plank replacements or tile replacements, where with this I could go in and essentially clean it up fairly easy the next day. Anybody got any questions? Yes, sir. Sir? So the question was, how flexible is this adhesive after it sets up? So this adhesive is a modified silane. So that means compared to a traditional urethane, right? So urethanes, or even liquid nails, for example, they get pretty rigid. So over time you can have some fracturing there. or you know, you just don't have that much movement or allow for movement with that adhesive. With a modified silane, essentially across the board, there's going to be a little bit of flex to that adhesive to allow for that slight movement. Is that good? Can y'all hear me? Okay. Thought the microphone went out, sorry. Any more questions? Cool, I appreciate everyone's time. So tomorrow, new invention, 2:30. It's going to save 25 to 35% of your install time on floating products. Appreciate it, thank you.
Look, Mom, I made that.